It's gonna be at 10, sorry.
10, oh, I'm sorry, I missed the 10. Fire department, go ahead, paid call.
We have a motion, or I'm sorry, Dylan Neubauer interviewed successfully for the position of paid call firefighter. We feel like he would be a valuable addition to our paid call. So we're gonna request that we permission to hire Mr. Newberry.
Is he gonna last longer than the last one?
I hope so.
Okay. Anybody have a problem bringing forward next week?
Nope.
Okay,
Okay, we talked about this a little bit. The Kansas Forestry Department has surplus equipment available for fire departments within the state. The equipment's military surplus. We worked with finalizing the Firewise program for the area that we protect. And we needed some tools for that Firewise program. This is one of those tools that we're hoping is valuable for that and the citizens around. Also, this can be a deployment asset for recouping and for all fires around the state that you guys can get FEMA money from. So there's pictures attached to of the semi. That is a military semi. It is through the forestry program, and they have we took a bunch of pictures, but you guys can get to it. And then the last one is the last JPEG image is one of a bulldozer that similar. It's a little bit too big. We were wanting a D5 instead of a 7, and that's a 7. So hopefully they find a smaller one, but you can see the MOA with the Kansas Forestry Service as well. There's not, it's pretty straightforward. We had Jeff look at it, review it. He had no issues with it. So it's up there. It's ready for if you guys are wanting that apparatus and willing to do that for the service areas that we have. It would be a very beneficial tool for the service areas in the Firewise program, which is something that we talked about through the Region 7 stuff, and having that asset around could be very valuable for not only reducing the fine fuels around houses and stuff, especially in our northern district, but also when it's a deployed asset, you guys can recoup off of it.
so what are you asking for?
So this
I'm
is
confused.
I'm sorry, this
The
is,
bulldozer was too big, so we're not gonna get the bulldozer,
this is
right?
only for the truck currently.
For the truck.
Yeah, they're
Do
still
we
looking
have a
for-
use for the truck other than for hauling big equipment? Do we have any other big equipment that can be used in the city besides? I mean, I understand if we're gonna haul the bulldozer,
Mhm.
is there any way that even on the road grader we have, we can use the road grader out there if we have the truck to take it somewhere?
The low boy would probably accommodate that they're getting, but
How many miles,
it's only got 16,000 miles on the truck.
Where you gonna keep this thing? I mean, we're not talking about a Volkswagen here. We're
No.
talking about a piece of equipment here that's, especially if you get a trailer.
So our goal will be putting it right outside of the South landfill building, and then we'll plug in the core heater for it during the winter time, but this is still be exercised every week, like all the rest of our equipment.
I don't know about putting it out there. Do you have any room at the armory?
At the armory,
Yeah.
it's pretty tight. If you can figure something out, we'll work with you.
What do you estimate the cost of this to keep it up and running all the time?
You're probably talking about $1,000 a year for going through the oil and making sure that it's maintained. And then fuel cost is probably $500 or $600 a year in fuel cost unless it's deployed.
You talked a little bit about tires. You got any thought there on what these look like?
Yeah, they took really good pictures of the tires. There should be some pictures on there.
There's no numbers on them.
They have a lot of tread left on. They look like they were brand new, and the truck's only got 16,000 miles on it too,
But
so.
the year is what makes a difference.
Yeah.
DOT is not gonna let you operate that vehicle.
The rubber deteriorates with age, whether you're running or not.
Correct, and they did check them and they were put on in the last couple of years, so they're gonna have probably about 5 years out of those tires.
The other cost that was mentioned in the contract, I don't know if anybody happened to notice that, but within 6 months of receipt, you have to have it painted.
Yeah,
So I don't know if we know what the cost to paint.
it doesn't have to be elaborate paint, so.
It just said it had to be out of the non-military.
We took
Colors.
ours to Ellsworth and had the prisoners paint it.
Huh?
We have the
There's a lot
same
of-
one in Galvin, we took, to Ellsworth. You can paint red materials, maybe. Few $100, I think, if you want to use it.
How many times would you have used this in the last 5 years if you had a logo with it?
We would have employed that multiple times into Reno County for the Firewise program. We would be using it immediately, especially on the north end of our district. This is something too that you would see going throughout the county, being utilized probably quite a bit, probably almost every weekend. I could see the trail people wanting to utilize that along the trail as well, to push back some of that brush along that trail. So it's probably,
Does this have a trailer? Doesn't have a trailer right now.
no, they're looking for a logo, yeah.
I will say if we had the logo, where a lot of the big rock that we moved and everything, we would have used it to bring it back from northeast of,
What's the requirements on, how long we have to have that before we can sell it?
Can't sell it.
Huh?
You
Can't
give
sell it.
back.
You give it back.
It stated in the agreement that you cannot sell it.
So when you're done with it, you can turn it back over to the feds and they'll destroy it.
Well, if we had a riot, we could run the dozer down there.
what do you think the likelihood is to get a logo or trailer?
Oh, it's very high. They'll probably have one throughout before the end of 2020 sitting up there, so. I would say that the Loveaway they had, he said 6 or 8 bulldozers available right now, so they were looking at seeing what they could get. But
And
we
they were
were-
all sevens?
No, they had 5s, that's what he was looking for, was 5s, smaller ones.
We take it out to the landfill and use it, they use it.
Yeah, we would have definitely used it there.
That may be something else, a place to store it if we have use for it in a fire that, John Hawk, maybe when he's here at 10 o'clock, table this till then, and would he be willing to put this out there so that ultimately we have a piece of equipment to use out there in case of another landfill fire? Then we wouldn't worry about it as much.
It's got an inside spot.
I don't think he has an inside spot, but we can figure out, we don't have an inside spot there either. And it's just sitting out in the open nowhere. He at least has a fence around his deal.
Yeah, the only issue I would say with that is we need to run it every week, so going out and exercising it is important.
Yeah, we'll have a program to wear it out practicing. I'm not. The rule of thumb is if you accept the gift, contemplate the costs of the gift for the next 10 to 20 years.
Oh, I'm thinking even 5 years.
So if the tires have been on 5 years, and 5 years is rubber deteriorating to the point that it doesn't pass inspection, not so much worried about repainting that type of thing. It doesn't say the quality of the paint job anyhow, but, we could probably find either a prison or someplace else to practice their painting. But, so it's not all green. We'll paint it tan, so if they take it back, they can use it.
Again, if you guys feel like this is the cost or outweighing the benefits of this in the future, it's something you can turn back in and get rid of.
What do we do for insurance?
It'd be the same fleet insurance you have currently.
So we just an add two, right?
Yeah, just have a vehicle. Well, let's talk to John when he comes in 5 minutes. I don't know, hard thing to,
It won't be John though.
or whoever.
Okay.
Bedliner.
Our last item, on July 22nd, the commission approved the new F-350 to replace the 2008 Squad. For some reason, I figured in the bedliner expense, but forgot to put it on the cost sheet. So we don't need additional dollars, we just need to appease Richard and put it on the cost sheet for his.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay. Don't that cost more money?
Bob said he'd buy it,
Yeah, it's his going away gift.
yeah.
Long time drive it every day.
Might as well, everybody else will. Okay. Court software.
We received the annual invoice from G-Works for the municipal court software, the software they use to track tickets and all the fines and stuff, so we need to renew that. It's an annual expense, get it to pull out.
Budget,
Yeah, $3,597.77.
Yeah, it's in the budget. Yeah. Okay, you bring it next week.
And you're potentially gonna talk with court staff about maybe moving over to a Cassell system.
We're gonna start
doing something.
demoing that, and, cause this system is old and antiquated, and it doesn't keep up with what we need to do, so.
Okay. Hey, CBB,
I'm asking for a $750 sports grant from McPherson High School for their volleyball tournament that they had in October. When I was going through the grant applications and cleaning those up for the end of the year, one of them that we had approved earlier didn't have their event, so I came up, we had a $750 extra. And I thought this would be a good grant too.
okay.
You would otherwise have been out of money.
Yes, we've been out of money for quite some time. We thought, but as I said, when I was cleaning up our grants for 2019, I found some.
Anybody have any problems with bringing it next week? Good.
Thank you.
And I'll get after McPherson College about getting the invoice for what we paid.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, community building.
Oh, yeah, we wanna register for a, 2-day bridal fair in January in Wichita. If we register right now, we can save $50 on the entry fee. It sets up a booth for 2 days in Century 2. It's $700 for a 2-day exposure to about 12 to 1,500 couples planning weddings. And get in and advertise the community building as a destination.
Thoughts? Are we-
Nick?
Go
Nick's
ahead.
working on brochures right now that
We've
we
got
have.
some promotional materials we're working on that we'll have to bring later when we get
I was
some.
gonna ask what your plans
They're
were.
about,
They're about done, we're just
we'll have you look at it for
finalizing some
reprint.
proofs and stuff, and then have a printout ready to look at and decide how much we wanna print and that sort of thing.
I was gonna go help him with this. I think we need to get out there and start promoting it. But January's the month to do it for Pride.
Yeah, that's the biggest
Is that-
one they do for the year.
Oh, Wayne wants to go too, sorry.
Man, he doesn't need to find another bride. Okay. My only question is if we go to something in Wichita, and we're an hour away, do we expect to get anything out of that? Or are we going to learn more about how we market ourselves and we're gonna spend $700 to educate ourselves?
Yeah, they do some smaller ones throughout the year. It's a high price tag, cause it is the biggest one they do, and it's 2 days, and,
Our local bridal store goes to that one and she gets,
Yeah.
gallons out of it, so I think we'll get something out of it. I think McPherson people go to it, so.
Masswood's here.
The what?
Masswood is here.
Yeah. I'd be willing to try something like that and see what we really get out of it.
Yeah, let's try it one time.
This one time and see
We've
what
never done
happens.
it, so.
Okay,
Okay.
you'll bring it next week.
Okay. Thank you.
And now you're gonna have to behave. Now you're gonna have to behave. Okay, we'll go ahead and, do this with.
Okay.
Well, good morning. Well, it's kind of been eventful,
Yes.
as you know. Get to that in a minute. But anyway, some daily operations to make things more efficient. They've added tablets to the collection trucks. This is gonna be a good thing for communication with the drivers for dispatch and things of that nature. And it's, the training is going well and plan to add some more in the future. Added new billing software, had a few glitches, but it's going well. And then Ms. Pywell, Mary did some training on how to respond to an active shooter event, and we'll share that with the facility. Equipment in the facilities, we were granted the proof of compliance for the transfer station by the Bureau of Air. We have to every year certify the air curtain burner and that sort of thing, so that went well. Purchased a new compost turner, which will make that process more efficient. The old one was pretty much on its last leg. At the landfill, several things going on. Prior to the fires, which we'll get to in a minute, we had a drone topographical survey of the landfill, and that will aid in the construction of the new cell 3, as that's still in process for approval. And also it helps to assess how much space is being taken up for our yearly report to the KDHE. Let's see, there was also in September inspection of the C&D landfill, the solid waste landfill, the household hazardous waste facility by KDHE, and there were no violations. That's going well. And then Mr. Tabor had met with the new gentleman who's assigned to our Cell 3 project, and been in contact with him, and the approval process is proceeding, so hopefully it won't. We were thinking maybe it might be a little slowed down, but hopefully it'll continue on. And then you're well aware of the 2 fires on October 21st and 27th. The first one, which damaged the liner. They're still as of last meeting, we haven't got the extent to the damage and, the estimate for repair on that. Fortunately, it's up high in the cell, and I think it'll be relatively easy to remedy, but it will be a process. As a result of that, KDHE officials toured the site, and we're awaiting their recommendations for prevention of fire in the future. Meanwhile, proactively, Mr. Hawk and Mr. Tabor have done some research on bale fill, landfill operations like our own and other ones. Finding the consensus, there are a lot more fires than there used to be, and also ways of preventing more fires. So the plan of action's developed, and have some steps in place, kind of still waiting for KDHE to give us their recommendations so we know which direction to go. But of course, probably primary in that process is educating the public and trying to avoid disposal of lithium-ion batteries, which seem to be the culprit in a lot of a lot of landfill fires. We don't know what caused ours, but we do know that in close proximity to that, I think it was the Wednesday of that week, we had one ignite in the Baylor building, and were able to, it didn't cause any damage or anything, but they were able to pinpoint that that was the source. So, anyway. Then moving on, there was a SWANA Board of Directors meeting hosted by our facility, and then as a part of the Kansas Organization of Recyclers event that was at the municipal building on September 11th, they gave tours of the transfer station. And then several members of the management team attended the regional SWANA meeting in Mulvane, Kansas on October 1st through 3rd. And then late October 21st through 24th, several of us, including myself, went to WasteCon in Phoenix. And of course, that was the week that we had that. And we, interestingly, attended a seminar on landfill fires. And so, anyway, so that's kind of the wrap up on that. Do you have any questions?
I just have a couple comments. We have really good active shooter training through our police department and the LEPC can be involved in that. And so, you know, you don't have to go somewhere else to attend training, and we can come out on site and do a lot of that. So we would like to be partner with you and collaborate on active shooter training, and even every year or two to do a refresher through our police department. We've done these for many industries in the community, and we'd be more than happy to do them for you. In light of what you've already done in terms of fires, I have plans to call John Hawk this week, and I think that the fire chief and I'd like to come out and talk about where are your steps, whatever you turned into KDHE. We've talked with them too, sort of like to have a meeting with him and anybody else that John wants, and have that, set up that meeting if you want to. I've said something to him, but you can tell him that he'll be getting a call shortly on that. And just talk about some things, and the cost to us of these last fires have been expensive, a little bit out of the ordinary, and so we would like to do that and to find out where we are on that reverse flow pump and from the leachy ponds and that type of thing to follow up before we go to industry on anything. So if that's, you can pave the way on that, and probably tomorrow or so, I'll make a call to see if we could set up a time this week, next week, to be able to talk about that. And then we had an earlier issue on whether or not we take military surplus tractor and a trailer when it becomes available. And I'd like to have that on the agenda too, to talk with him about the transfer station. Is there any way that we could use the transfer station versus the landfill to be right there on the city limit, to be available, and talk about that. And maybe there's a joint use that will help you at times on a lowboy trailer. But other than that, we need to find a thing, and I'm really interested in public awareness of all of these lithium batteries. And we talked about it in a session with the county, but we need to to start educating people. If you wanna get rid of your cell phone, we need to have a special drop-off, a lot like we do for drop-off for paint or anything else. We can't keep throwing these things in the landfill, and they could go a year or two, and then all of a sudden, as you know from the meetings, create a fire if they suddenly activate and there's something close enough to them, do they get hot enough to get the combustion? So we want to cooperate with you guys to somehow, how do we take all of these lithium batteries, which are more and more popular, that is a prime suspect in all of these landfill fires across the nation. But are there proven methods, or can we have a more proven method to collect batteries? And I know we ask people not to put them in their trash, but if you don't have an alternative way to get rid of them, guess what?
Yeah.
They're in the trash bag. So,
The seminar that we were in, there was a gentleman from California, and his landfill, it was pretty much destroyed. And he was introducing legislation, of course it's in California, but to try to make the provider of the lithium batteries more accountable for that. So I think we're gonna probably see the trend head that way. But in the meantime, we definitely need something
yeah.
to do that.
Well, if we just have a place to do them, and maybe an isolated place to where we put them, will help out a lot. But that's the agenda, we'd like to have a meeting, and
Okay.
Chief Weisman and I will go out and visit, and
Good.
what's the guy that Manny was out there in the last fires, that did the interview for Channel 12?
He's the manager of the landfill itself.
Yeah, what's his
Oh,
name?
Mike Tabor?
Mike
Oh,
Tabor,
yeah,
yeah.
sorry,
I
okay,
couldn't,
yeah.
I can, if he wants, Mike can have anybody, John can have anybody there he wants, Mike or whoever else, or nobody, but we will be making the call to have the meeting.
Sounds good.
And, I would like to just delay the truck until we talk to him.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything?
All right.
Rick, thanks for coming
Well,
in,
thank you.
we appreciate you coming by quarterly and updating us.
Well, we
You didn't get
appreciate.
sunburned in Arizona, did you?
No, we were inside most of the time. But appreciate. the-
Good answer.
Appreciate the response and the support from the community on fires. It's, obviously it's dangerous, so we appreciate that, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
doing good work. Okay, we're down to public lands and facilities.
Thank you. On September 29th, one of our park department employees was involved in a two-vehicle accident at Main and Marlin. It was a vehicle and a gator, and the gator was a total loss. Below is the total loss settlement there, $11,275.82. And staff, we have two gators in our fleet. One was supposed to be replaced in 2019, and the next one was supposed to be replaced in 2020. So we were hoping we could go ahead and get the one that was totaled out and lost this year, go ahead and get it ordered and get a price on it and get it quoted out.
Can you have it delivered by this year?
That's what we have to find out.
Is a gator, is a gator, is a gator? I mean, it's a John Deere gator, or are you
John
gonna get
Deere
some,
Gator,
or are you gonna get some
this
different?
one here was
there's
four-wheel
20
drive.
different brands now.
Yeah, and staff would like to stay with the John Deere Gator. That's what they would like to do, so.
Well, my recommendation before finance sends in is you can discuss all this, but if it can't be delivered by December 31st, that you wait, put your order in.
Thank you.
Okay.
I can,
Okay.
Yeah, our preference would be
I think you ought to-
January.
I think you should bid it. I know there's more than one John Deere dealer around here, but
They could probably get one in
Or
from that
something.
deal. Hey, Wayne, did we ever find it, why was this, what was we doing down there watering on a Sunday?
Keeping the plants beautiful. It's been common practice. Keeping our downtown beautiful.
Do we normally work on
She
Sunday?
does, Kim does. She goes down and spends about an hour, 2 hours on the
On a
weekends,
hotter,
when it's hot and dry weather, she'll go down and do
And I
it.
assume she'd adjust her schedule to be able to do that.
She gets about 1 or 2 hours overtime each pay period.
Going back to the gator, why do they want a gator?
That's what they've always had.
It'll carry the water container and everything that you've got on
And
it.
those are things that we need to look at, and when Gary comes on, we need to discuss those type of things too. And I think there's ways to water other than using a tank downtown water.
Oh,
There's water available at each one.
in
of
that
those
manhole,
lines.
you lift it up and hook the hose on, and you got water.
So, there's things that we need to look at, so.
well, maybe need to look at all that and order it in January anyhow, and do the full analysis on alternate wastewater, okay?
Okay.
So in the meantime, we'd accept the settlement and
Yeah,
Move
the
on.
check's in the mail.
I've heard that.
So, I
will
mean,
put that-
we're gonna get the settlement, and we may not need the gator between now and the end of the year anyhow. So, let's just
We
wait,
have 2 vehicles that can handle it.
yeah, let's just wait and do a first of the year analysis.
Okay.
Then we'll deposit that in the equipment fund.
Parks,
Parks, parks portion of the equipment fund, yes,
not the golf course.
correct.
Okay. All right, move on. to
I'm
public-
gonna go back to this thing. I know you want a gator, but I'd like to see a price on something else. I don't care what it is, but I want a price on
I
something
agree.
else.
I agree
If you
with
got a Kawasaki Mule out here that's $1,000 less than a gator, then we have no business having a green gator.
It's a good point.
Okay,
And we'll spec it out and bid it out and
Right.
roll the dice.
okay.
I
Or
agree
should
with
we
you
have
on that.
something else?
Yeah.
Maybe there's something else better than a gator. And, okay, we'll evaluate it in January and how we're delivering water downtown. Okay, Public Works,
First item is repairs to the loader. During the 250-hour service, Foley Tractor found that the hydraulics on the loader bucket was not operating properly. The needed repairs were made and received an invoice in the amount of $1,111.51.
you got a repair?
Can I have
That,
Next item, out of the wastewater treatment facility, we talked a few weeks ago about sewer access north of Avenue A, east of Foxfire. You'd asked that I get a couple of estimates, and these are very preliminary before any design is done. To realign the channels estimated at $237, almost $238,000. Also with that option are potential permitting process to change the course of the channel as it is now. Second option is a low water crossing. This would be similar to the one we have near the dog park for the 10-foot sidewalk, and that estimate is $128,664. Again, this is a real rough estimate without any benefit of design.
And this is gonna come out of wastewater?
And I thought I'd print it out and put it in my packet, but I think I attached Jonetta's cash flow analysis, and with that is the year-end balance for the last several years. Our balance has grown every year. We obviously had a lot of expenses coming out in 2019. Still puts us just below $3 million.
Yeah,
You're at 4,208,000 right now, apparently. I mean, that's what I'm reading here anyway.
but
Yeah.
we're building that up in case we ever have to do a major repair. But, that will be multi-million-dollar. I know to build the low water bridge is, $100,000 less, but if you straighten the channel, what prevents the channel from coming right back to where it is today? Nothing. If that's the case, then we have the money. I'm sort of in favor of the low water bridge to get there,
As do I.
so. Is this, something that we enter into a design for a low water bridge, or we can do it in-house?
No, we can't do it in-house. Just the permitting process alone is pretty extensive, so, we've gotten a price from Earl's, previously for the design, estimated at $25,030.
So can we do the design between now and the end of the year, or is this one of those things that he should do next year?
It'll start, we carry over the construction projects all the time, I mean.
So what's this whole thing what's the estimate? Where are we at on the whole thing? I mean,
For a
you
low
said-
water crossing is, right now, it's just under 130,000.
Well, I heard something about 237,000.
That's if you change the thing of the.
Oh, that's if
right
you
on
change
there.
this, okay, all right.
That's realigning the channel, which comes with, potential permitting processes.
So the 128,000 is just the construction cost, so it'd be that plus the 25.
Correct.
So,
They get you where you need to go?
so if we
I
get,
have, I went out with Pete Earls and we looked at it and took pictures, but I have not been involved at all with what his proposals are. This is the first I've seen, and 3 10x4 RCVs was bigger than what I had envisioned, but like I say, I haven't been involved in any of that part of it yet. So I really
It's
can't
not
make
been
any comments. I mean,
sized
the
at
goal
this-
is I've gotta get to that one particular manhole. I mean, that's a critical function, but the details,
well, if we're
I haven't been
focused
involved.
in for this study session on taking a look at the low water crossing, why don't you try to put together a more definite package? And if we break this into phases, we could do in, the design and size it and everything else, and then we'll know for sure more what we're talking about.
Yeah, that was the whole idea. We can't get any more definite
Can't get
design
any
until we
closer to
do a
what we are
design.
now, right?
Right, so I'm
But
just saying.
the box has to be sized, and the box is not sized at this point. I'm just saying it's gonna be similar to the one
Right,
on the 10-foot trail.
yeah,
And then we're gonna have to have an entrance off Avenue A,
yeah,
for the trucks, with Jim Strawn's sixplex in there. They used to come down that way, but now he's not gonna like that through his yard. He's planted grass, and so we're gonna have to have an actual entrance. Are we bringing the design forward then?
I would be
Say
willing
yes.
to bring the design forward, and that way, we'll know
Figure out where we're at.
how, we'll size it, we'll know what it takes, and
Right.
then we'll decide from there.
I have a question on, did you change the lift station #3 rebuild?
Yes,
Okay, so is that the latest estimate?
yes.
Thank you.
There was another one that I updated as well.
Okay.
I think it was we have an actual cost on the, UV UV disinfectant system.
Oh, the 492,916.
Yeah, it's $450 now.
450 even?
Yeah, not to exceed 450 is what was approved.
Thank you.
Next item, Tammy was looking over the boot policy. She suggested that we put in a payback clause, if an employee terminates with the city, prorate the cost of the boots, for the year. Just wondered if there's any interest in that. If there is, we'll draft something up and bring it back to study session. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I'd say do it, see what it looks like.
Well, I think
He's your
if
commissioner.
you're gonna make a buyback requirement, I would also like the option to just turn them back in, as opposed to purchasing them. In our instance,
Well-
we get sewage on these boots. I don't know that I'm gonna wanna buy a pair of boots that has sewage on them, regardless of how old they are.
Couldn't you do or and? They could return them or,
I mean, if you wanna do
Purchase
a
them.
buyback and or turn them back in, to just,
No way, we just
arbitrarily
wouldn't
say
turn
it.
them all in.
Pardon?
Just turn them all in,
But that's an option as well.
especially if you're gonna use your purchasing card to buy them, so.
Well, I mean, that's, I
Turn
guess
them in
that's
and
what you're
throw them in.
assuming.
We
is that
talked
they-
about this before we did the policy, and the reason we didn't want to turn them back in is so they have an old pair available
Right.
to them for, certain,
This-
like asphalt patching, hot mix patching is one.
This is just keep somebody from getting the boots and then quitting.
Right,
I don't have any problem of doing a prorate share or turn back at the point of leaving.
okay. The parking sign, Justin, mocked up a sign. I've got a call into the property owner, Kurt Schob, and, I've not heard back from him yet, but, preliminarily, he was amenable to something to.
How big is that sign? This one that you're showing here.
18 by 24,
12 by,
12 by 18.
12 by 18 is no parking sign.
Yeah. It's big enough to catch people's attention, so you don't go in a lot.
It's typical no parking sign,
Okay. All right.
that's all.
Okay,
Okay, next, Plaza East Place construction change order number 1. In negotiations for the access easement, it was obvious early on that we were gonna have to change the fence for the Orscheln's outdoor storage. The agreement initially was to move that outdoor storage fence back and leave it, at that place. We get ready to go in there and do the construction, and the local Orscheln's people felt that that was gonna be too restrictive. They needed a bigger area. So I agreed to, as soon as we were done with phase 2, phase 2 of the construction will be when the street's taken out for the most part back to past the first entrance into Applebee's. I said, well, we could move it back at that point and put it to the easement line, which, is a difference of, I don't know, do you remember, Justin, 30 feet or something? So it'll give them as much as we can possibly give them. By contract, they get, this fence would have cost a little over $5,000. I asked them to give us a price back for that. Moving it back to the easement, we will have to overrun the contract, to accomplish that. But I didn't feel that the project should have to pay for the temporary fence. The Orscheln people got really stirred up, and, they called the property owner, Sampson Pinner. He agreed to pay for the temporary fence, and they give us a price of $2,750. He's agreed to pay that. They did a really nice job with the temporary fence. My biggest fear was if we put up a temporary fence, because before we even had taken out the old fence, they started talking about theft and so forth with the temporary fence up there, so, he's taken responsibility for that, but the fence in its temporary location is, equal to the fence that it was. They did a really nice job and it's as good as a permanent fence. When we get done with phase two, we'll move and pay for it through the contract. Well, we're gonna pay this one through the contract as well, but we'll move the fence back out to the easement line, to give them as big area as we possibly can.
Okay.
But again, if this change order is approved, we will invoice Sampson Pinner or Cedar Hills Realty the same amount.
Okay.
He had asked that the city facilitate that, and so we
Okay.
did that.
All right, well, we want to keep him working with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, change order number 2 on Plaza East Place Construction. We had a typo in the contract, and also we did not have an in section listed in the contract. 30-inch RCP in section is $900, and then we changed the numbers. The quantity of 568 feet of 3 square foot RCHE pipe, and 229 feet of 30-inch RCP, and it should have actually been reversed. So we reversed that, and it resulted in, even with the addition of the in section, resulted in a reduced amount contract, $3,412.
Good.
And then also, once we striped the temporary striping, the other change on this change order, people were still parking inside the lanes. Orscheln's had went in and redone their pavement markings, and so people were parking inside the lanes, inside those parking places. So we painted over those, we got a price from Votes to paint over those, and then we'll restore them when we're done at a cost of $400, which is a really good price.
Okay. I've got a question, doesn't involve either change order, on the emails from Larry on his fence.
Okay, his employee was out there, I wish Justin wouldn't have left here now. Justin, well, I seen him out there too, but his employee took that fence down. I have no idea what happened to the materials. I don't know if he knows what happened to him and he's just trying to gig us, or if he really thinks they only took part of the fence down, but I'm confirming that with Votes Parga, but they're not gonna take that fence down without getting paid to do it. And his employee did it.
Votes wouldn't.
Votes wouldn't,
No.
yeah.
And
His
he
employee was-
he doesn't know his employee's the one that did it.
I emailed him back and told him that, and he said, no, it didn't happen, cause his employees would have touched base with him, and
Yeah, I saw that, but he's wrong. So if he's wrong, we just need to verify it.
yeah, I'm confident he's wrong. I'm checking to make absolute sure, and then I'll respond back to him.
Okay, and with regard to him, are we making any progress on Champlin? And now that we have that waterway and we have 2 nice mounds of dirt that stop any water from flowing down the retention from his area, if you probably aware what I'm talking about, cause
We're on
He had-
Champlin Street now, I see
yeah,
him.
and he had that Bobcat in there, and they pushed big mounds of dirt up right at his end of the waterway.
Yeah, they went down to excavate for the street. It's more than that guy could have done, even if he could have got it cut down to where it belonged. I don't know how they were ever gonna compact it. They had a dirt contractor lined up. He then backed out. I don't know, I suspect it might have been a payment issue. And now supposedly he's back on board. I was out Friday, so I don't know. He was supposed to show up Friday. I've not been in contact with the inspector about if he is, but I have no idea. I have no control over it. He's spending a lot of money here he didn't need to.
Well, it could have been done 3 times and,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it could've been done by now.
okay, all right. I will not ask you any more questions about
We
him.
can take that dozer, they're gonna give us, push
Well-
that dirt away.
Damn.
No. Okay.
The next is, change order number 5 with Votes Parga. This is, the Hardup Grand Sanitary Sewer Project is completed, except for the pavement patch that's gonna be required at Hardup and Hancock. It's temporary in there now with millings, rather than to carry this project over until, next year after school's out when they actually do the pavement replacement. I'd like to move that and do it as part of the Hardup Grand, Hardup Elizabeth, street reconstruction, and close up the Hardup Grand sanitary sewer.
So you're just moving that then?
Yeah.
Yeah, amen. Let's get it done. and
I
open it up.
agree.
Yeah.
So you'd reduce it out of that project, move it over to the other one. You're still taking that same source at it, it would be, are you using Consolidated Streets to pay for that piece, or?
I would assume we would then, as we've done on the other projects, just, make a transfer from wastewater into,
You'd still do that, you just move it into a different project.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You okay with
Anything
that?
we can get wrapped up
Another?
before year end is, for the end of the construction season. I learned that term.
Right.
So, I'm confused. I thought you were gonna take it out of Hardup Grand Sewer Project.
Yes.
Okay. why
So
would
it's a
you-
change
Why would
order.
you transfer from wastewater?
Because
Is that your
wastewater's not paying for, we're taking it out of Hardup Grand and into Hardup Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
And so then we would have to transfer that amount of money from wastewater and put it into,
Okay.
Hardup Elizabeth.
Okay.
If we're gonna do that, then we have the final change order for the Hardup Elizabeth, Hardup Grand sanitary sewer, and we have an underrun of the total project cost of just under $7,700, so. And the bulk of it is that pavement patch, and then just adjusting the quantities, what it actually
So
took.
that's where your $76.99 comes in?
Okay, so then that all down there, it, Hardup and Hancock will be open for the winter. If we get this done.
Hardup and Hancock, we're gonna leave it closed. I believe the intersection is open through Hancock now. There's one intersection's closed at, I think it's Grand and Hancock. As soon as they get it sealed, that'll be open, but yeah, all the rest
Yeah.
of the sewer will be open.
Then my other question is what we're doing on Kansas to Marlin on Hardup, will that get open?
Yes,
Yeah, that's done.
yeah,
No, it's not
the
done.
pavement's placed.
Pavement's placed.
And so it cures for a week, and then they go in and saw the joints and seal it,
Seal it.
and then they can open it up.
You can open it. It'll be open.
Okay, I guess I must have looked at it for, when I left on the last trip, and it wasn't done, but it's done
Well,
while
they
I
just
was
placed
gone.
Friday,
Friday.
Friday, I
Right,
think.
placed it Friday,
Mhm.
okay, I went by before it was placed in.
Yeah, and I think they have some sidewalk maybe to finish up, but they were planning on doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna get that opened up, easily within the next week or 10 days.
What's your thoughts? I know the curbing and everything is in on Anna, and you said this morning you thought we'd still get done by the end of the, construction season on Anna?
No, well,
We won't.
I think we will. I think we'll get, they've got all the curb in except for the tie-in pieces, which is typically what they do. The long run is in. I think we'll get the pavement in. They're gonna they wanna do the pavement, and of course, then they have to cure it, saw it, seal it, before they can allow any traffic on it, then they'll go back and catch up the driveways. The driveways are small areas, they can keep them, covered up and heated as they need to. Yeah, I think we'll get that stretch done. What I said in commission was the intersection of North High Drive and Holtz. That goes to a 10-day cure, so mid this week they'll be able to start backfilling, and I hope to get that intersection open before the end of the construction season. and I think we can.
Yeah, that's all sounding good. And then Grimes, where we're still putting all those boxes in, we'll probably, hopefully get the boxes in, but we won't do any paving at the rate we're going.
Well, the hope is, and that's why they're held up on hard up, the hope is that we would get everything that's replaced, we'd get all that pavement back in, yes, before
Before the end of the year.
shutdown.
Yeah, okay,
So it doesn't all.
But there's no guarantee, I mean, they're getting pretty close on the,
yeah, I know.
on the sanitary, on the storm sewer.
Okay.
Through there, but, it's good to see some concrete finally going down.
Yeah, I agree.
There was a lot of work, to get to this point, so.
Yeah. There've been some good comments by citizens, happy to see we're finally improving things. It's okay. Broad shoulders. Okay, administration.
First item we need to pay for maintenance and support for board docs, and this is a budgeted amount, it's an amount not to exceed $7,000. That we pay annually for that, and there's an invoice there for you to see, and we bring it next week if there's no objections.
Any objections?
Yeah.
Right, it's in the budget.
Next item, would like to request that Bo and myself be allowed to attend the Kansas Association of City County Managers event in Garden City from December 4th to the 6th. Registration's $160 per person, rooms are $91 per night, and we, if possible, and if available, we'd take a city vehicle, if not, we'd have to take one of our own personal vehicles. I imagine the only additions that we maybe have would be fuel cost, to fuel back up a city vehicle if we take it, and, up to 2 meals, but maybe not, it just depends, how that first one falls, but most of the meals are covered with the registrations.
Okay.
And then
Well,
I got a copy of the
you both
agenda.
need training, so I would recommend that we do it.
And the agenda is on there, just so you guys can kind of see what we'll be going with.
We still have some money in administration, so anybody opposed to them?
No
problem.
Go.
That's it.
All right,
Besides that,
I got
December
one thing.
4,
Oh,
yeah, December 4, 5, so on, the weather might be just about right.
Yeah, I got one thing for you.
we won't be basking in the sun.
When
okay,
is that, December 4th to the 6th?
Yeah.
4, 5.
Yeah, we'll.
4, 5, 6.
yeah, Bob has an item.
Okay, I think this was Tuesday night, I'm not sure, but the first part of last week, that they had a session on dog, the news. There's several dogs dying in the state of Kansas, and that's from dog parks. People are taking dogs to the dog park that don't have all their shots, and they give them to other dogs. So I just wonder, do we need a sign saying available to dogs with current shots? And then, does our insurance cover anything if some dog dies from?
I would imagine if we're labeling in that, if we have it out there and put something out there, our liability insurance should cover it because of the Tort Claims Act.
Okay.
As long as we're taking action to address the need, there's nothing we could do to prevent, short of having somebody there 24/7 to check
Yeah.
vaccinations, it's just not reasonable.
There is signage out there that says all the animals are supposed to have the tags, vaccinations, current vaccinations.
You already have that sign, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thought there was
Okay.
one out there. but-
Yeah,
Yeah,
Probably be pretty hard to prove that that's where they actually
Well, I know,
picked
yeah,
it up.
I just wondered if we wanted to,
yeah, well, we
Talk
already,
about it, look.
yeah, we already have the sign.
okay,
yeah, signs out there.
Good.
It's, there's a push right now. Newton lost several dogs in their shelter. And,
Or-
Sedgwick County.
and then Sedgwick County, but right in our area, we have not had that problem, and I have not had any, reports from any of our vets of having a problem in the area. Have you got anything at the animal shelter?
No, we discussed this a little bit about maybe just doing a spot check with the animal control officer as he's out and about, swing by the dog park, just to make sure people keep them on their toes, make sure they're getting their vaccinations.
Yeah, And that's one of the other things we could do with the animal control officer, just swing by there from time to
Have
time.
you ever
talk
been
to
to a
people.
dog park meeting? I have never been to a dog park meeting.
Are these dogs down at Parva, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, the dog park side of the private thing is their own deal. We've pretty well done everything that we said we would do, so I don't know how much they really do. Are they still emptying the trash?
Yeah, they take care of it,
Yeah, so,
and they've got some features and everything, so.
Well, one thing they do have, don't they have social media? They have like a social media website too?
Yeah,
It might not hurt to put,
they have it on Facebook.
you could reach out to them and ask them if they'd put something out, just as a reminder.
We can put it out on
But
our,
We put it out on ours, they put it
And
out on
shelter.
theirs,
Yeah.
just something to let people be aware that, you know, you make sure your dogs are vaccinated, because there have been some instances
but
where.
even down in Newton, they turned down a dog that the owner obviously knew it had parvo and tried to pawn it off on them. So, you know, you can do that. Anything else?
The only other thing I'd say is, if you have any items, I sent out a draft of the agenda for Wednesday. If you have anything you need added, commissioners, please let me know as soon as possible so we can get it adjusted.
Okay.